Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Namo and Trump are talking in G20 summit on the sidelines, and before this summit happened, Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State for the United States, visited India, and there was some prep that happened prior to this visit of this meeting of Namo and Trump. Now, I have been in part of some debate panels, and so has today's guest for our program been. But somehow in these things, we don't get to give the complete story. Things kind of get missed. And so I thought it was a good time for us to try and clarify some things that Indian media is probably not aware of, and about the ground realities. To know more, let's reach out to Professor M D Nalapat. Professor Nalapat, welcome to PGurus channel.
Thank you, Sri.
Okay, so Professor Nalapat, takeaway from what happened from the time Mike Pompeo landed in India.
Well, I'd like to say the fact that Mike Pompeo came to India essentially as a preliminary visit to the meeting between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi is significant. The fact of the matter is that if my memory is right, there has not been a bilateral meeting between Modi and Trump since around, I think, November 2017. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was the last time the two had a personal and bilateral meeting. So such a meeting is going to take place after a long time. And the fact that Pompeo came essentially as preparation for that meeting indicates the very high importance that the Americans place on the relationship between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi, and therefore the very high importance they place upon India as a strategic partner. So the mere fact of the Pompeo visit itself, and we'll get into the details later, is very significant.
Now, so the couple of main sticking points that I could see was, first of all, the cessation of buying crude from Iran. And the second was, of course, the thing that we have discussed in the past, that United States is upset about India getting S-400 from Russia. Let's go to the first one because that is more significant. So US has been, quote unquote, replenishing the supplies lost for India because it stopped getting crude from Iran. How true is this statement, and where is this crude coming from? Is it coming from mainland United States or from one of its partners in the Gulf?
Well, if it's coming, it will probably be coming from Saudi Arabia. Okay. But the reality is, Sri, that the Saudi crude, assuming that Saudi Arabia has got the capacity to meet the loss of supply from Iran, which I don't think so, because the Saudis are also pumping at a fairly high capacity. The reality of the situation is that Iran has a particular kind of crude, a sweet, light kind of crude, which is ideally suited to several of the refineries operating in India. So it's going to be very difficult for those refineries to move into the heavier crudes that other countries supply them. It's really going to be a huge problem if that's going to happen. The second point is, of course, Chabahar, that if you are essentially walking away from Iranian crude, you are definitely walking away from Chabahar, because the Iranians are not going to keep giving you access and authority over Chabahar when you don't buy their crude. Let's not forget the Chinese were initially interested in Chabahar as well, besides Gwadar. And the Iranians then decided, okay, once India came in, we'll choose our old friend India and not China. But if India proves to be not a friend in need, frankly, or a friend indeed, then Iran can go back to China. So my point is, Sri, I don't see the buying of crude from Iran as such an important issue for even the Trump administration. They may not say it openly, but I think privately many of them would be happy to have some kind of a connect with Iran through India, because the trust with India is growing. The defense relationship with India is growing. The security relationship with India is growing. And therefore, a connect with Iran would, I think, be privately quite welcome to the Trump administration. Therefore, in my view, in a panic manner, stopping off all imports from Iran, in my view, that's not, in my view, a decision that I would have recommended.
So, if I have to paraphrase what the outgoing External Affairs Minister had said, Sushma Swaraj, he said that wait until the elections for the new policy or something to that effect. So, the elections have come, the new government is in place, it's now close to a month since that happened. What is the movement in this direction? What is the new minister doing about resuming crude from Iran?
Well, the new minister is the individual who has a very clear strategic vision for the country. And his strategic vision is completely aligned with the strategic vision of Prime Minister Modi. The two have had extensive conversations on strategic matters in the past, and I'm sure that's happening in the present as well. I have really no idea as to what the contours of any possible policy towards Iran are likely to be. But when dealing with the United States, you give some, you get some. So in my view, there must be that kind of situation going on in which, for example, Mike Pompeo says, look, we'll give you this and we want this. India says, okay, we'll give you this, we want this. So I think that process is going on. So I'm not sure what's happening, but I would like to say it's against the United States' interest, it's against India's interest if India just cuts off its oil purchases from Iran. I believe a strong Indian link with Iran, including oil purchases, does not just make economic sense, it makes geopolitical sense even for the United States.
I agree with your viewpoint, Monoji, because when India was buying crude from Iran, it was paying for it with essential commodities and also part rupee payment. So that kind of decreases the stress on the foreign exchange balance of payments and so on and so forth. So, okay, so let's see how this thing plays out vis-a-vis Iran. So let's go to the next big thing, which is the S-400 deal. Now, just walk us through what happened with Turkey and United States when Turkey got S-400 from Russia, because I'm reasonably sure that whatever template that the United States used with a NATO partner, which is Turkey, probably they are going to use the same thing against India. So why don't we go back through what has been happening with Turkey, Professor Nalapat?
So far as Turkey is concerned, as you said, it's an important NATO partner. There's a very huge American base, Incirlik Air Base, in Turkey. And from that point of view, the Americans would have every incentive to go a little soft on Turkey as compared to India, where there's no naval base or any kind of base. And we are not a NATO partner. But the reality of the situation is, I think, that so far as Turkey is concerned, Erdogan seems to be stubborn in going ahead with S-400. And my forecast is that's going to result in US sanctions. And those sanctions are going to further cripple the economy of Turkey. Erdogan lost in Istanbul mainly because the economy of Turkey is going down the tube. And the economy of Turkey is going down the tube largely because of tensions with the United States and other tensions created by Erdogan and his very, if I may say so, caliph-like style of functioning and geopolitics. So very frankly, on S-400, I have no idea as to what Mike Pompeo discussed with Jaishankar, but I'm very certain that Pompeo would have likely made it very clear that S-400, if the S-400 deal is gone through, then a lot of the measures that the United States was planning to take with India in the matter of security will probably be off the table. In my view, the United States is readying itself to make India a major manufacturer and component supplier of major defense systems. But for that, there has to be certain hard decisions made by India. One is the S-400 decision. In my view, personally, I would like to say, I think it's in our geopolitical interest that we have a strong security alliance with the United States. I believe that the S-400 deal will be a killer to that kind of relationship. And the second big thing to consider is 5G. Now, whatever the advantages of 5G from Huawei, whatever the cost benefits, quite frankly, 5G is such a versatile technology that enables whoever owns the technology to access so many facets of activity in the country in which it's located, that most likely the Americans would have pointed out not only to S-400, but to 5G as well, and told the Indian side, look, let's get options for this, because if you have 5G, it's going to be again very difficult for us to cooperate with you. And don't forget, the Americans have completely removed Huawei from their own territory so far as 5G is concerned. They're working very hard to remove Huawei from their NATO partners, and India, as a major non-NATO military partner designated of the United States, I think they'll be keen on that. So I think 5G and S-400 even more than 5G, are going to be important factors. And again, my own personal belief is a strong security relationship with the United States means we may have to make some gestures of our own. The question is, what do we get in exchange? If the Americans offer us a good bargain in exchange, then I think this is a matter that should be favorably considered.
And that's indeed excellent words of wisdom. Let's see how this thing plays out. And in Jaishankar and Modi, we have seems to have a very good team, and with his excellent relations that he enjoys with both, with everyone. As a matter of fact, Modi seems to get along with everyone. So let's see how this thing plays out. Thank you very much, Professor Nalapat, for sharing your thoughts on this.
Thank you.